me see. Checking the stream to see if we're online. It says we are. It says we are. And so I'm going to try to pick it up. Make sure that the audio is working here. Oh, looks like the audio is working. Or actually, I should say sound like the audio is working. Although it looks very choppy. And as you notice, Aaron, once again, is looking pretty flat and pretty, it's like there's something wrong with him. 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks. The first week he was on vacation. Last week he had some weird excuse that his internet went down. And then this week, oh, wait a minute. He's actually here. Hey, Aaron.
Surprise!
Yay, he's back.
I'm back.
Aaron is back. Wow.
Finally.
Finally. I don't have to hold this thing up by myself.
Oh, man. Excited to be back.
Yes. And it's good to see. We actually were trying to deal with some technical issues. As you can see, the video is a little bit choppy. But I guess as long as the audio is working okay, we're doing all right. So,
yeah. And total transparency to everyone watching. I cannot see a thing that David is doing. So if I like react in a weird way or anything like that, it's just because I'm going in blind here. I can really only hear what's going on.
He can only
the only
hear.
David I see is on Facebook where I'm watching the comments. So.
Well, good. I'm glad someone is. Wow. Yeah, so we'll have to work on that a little bit more, so you'll be able to actually, maybe see what's going on, which sometimes is helpful, I know.
Yeah.
So what's up, Aaron?
I mean, the ceiling.
All right.
Yeah.
The sky.
Yeah, sky.
Gas prices, taxes. I mean, we could go through.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the gas prices are pretty down right now.
Well, they are. They're not as far down as what they were at one point, but I can live with it. Hey, I did want to bring up our Sunday services this coming Sunday, June 14th. We're going to do this outside, and I just want to say a few things about this before we get started. And Aaron, you're going to be at a disadvantage. But I sent you this, and a couple of other people. I sent this to him yesterday, and it was something from Michigan where they had talked to several health folks, doctors and various others, asking about 36 different activities and what the risk level was.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I found it very helpful because they did it on a scale of 1 to 10, although nothing reached 10. 1 being least risky and 10 being the most risk of contracting COVID-19. So, and here's what that list tells me: playing tennis, risk level number 1. Although in the article that they actually wrote, they said if you're playing against someone that actually has symptoms and has COVID-19, the risk level would be higher. Mm-hmm. And getting takeout from a restaurant, risk level number 1. Eating outside at a restaurant, risk level number 4. Eating inside a restaurant, let me see if I can find that. It's risk level number 6. Risk level 6. Church, risk level. Do you remember what that was, Aaron?
Number 8, correct?
Yes. Risk level 8. And so we're trying to be very conscious of the risk level, and we're trying to mitigate as much as we can, but yet still come together. And that's why we're having a service that will be outside. That's why, because if you notice, if you eat inside a restaurant, the risk level is 6, and if you eat outside, it's 4, so it drops by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, this isn't scientific, but I figured if we have church service outside, that will lower it by at least 2. So you're at a 6 at that point.
Yeah.
If we practice social distancing, that will lower the risk level a little bit. If we're wearing face masks, that will lower it a little bit. If we try to keep our time together shorter than what a normal service would be, that will lower it a little bit. So what I'm really trying to do is find a way to minimize the most risk as we can, but still coming together as the body of Christ and worshiping and seeing one another and feeling like we're getting a little bit more normal.
Absolutely.
So I thought I would share that before we got started. We do have a topic today.
We do.
And Aaron, I can tell, is really excited about this topic. And I am too. I'm excited as well. Because what is it, Aaron? What's our topic?
So David and I share a certain affinity towards books. We both deeply, deeply love books. And so this was originally going to be our topic last week. So luckily David got a little more time to think about it. But I said, we can talk about, some of the books that we're reading right now that are having a real deep impact on us, or what are some of our must read books. Like what are those books that we keep going back to, or we encourage others to go to, and to share some of those, so that maybe if you guys are looking for something on your reading list, that maybe this might help you. Also, if you are listening, I encouraged some folks that were listening to David and I on a live stream yesterday to bring maybe a few of their books that have been really powerful and impactful to them in their lives, and maybe share those in the comments as well. Yeah. But David, do you wanna start us off, or would you rather me start?
I can start off, and this is a book I'm currently reading. Actually, okay. The phrase I would use is I'm currently working through.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's almost as big as my head. Actually, yeah. That's a perspective thing. It's not. It's about like that. It looks, yeah. But this is N.T. Wright, and if you've been coming to St. Paul, you know that I mention N.T. Wright quite a bit. This is one of his newer books. It's called The New Testament in Its World, and what it tries to do is help you to understand what the first readers of the New Testament. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Now, Aaron, how far are you into that?
I haven't even started that one, I'm going to be honest. Okay. All my other seminary.
I'm actually reading this. I bought the electronic book as well. I invested it because it's like, I'm not going to carry this thing around with me. I mean, really, it's just, it's like, I think it's bigger than my Bible, which is ironic, I guess. But anyway, that's the one I'd start out with. That's one of the ones I'm reading right now, and I'm really learning a lot.
There you go. Yeah. So, one of the things I've told David before is that one of the best pieces of advice that I was given maybe a year, 2 years ago, was that instead of reading 50 books once, that it's better for you to read one book 50 times and to really marinate on it and really let things sink in. And so the first book I'm going to bring up is on my must read list. It's a book that I read every year. I mentioned in a sermon a couple, some time ago, but it's Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I had a nice version of this book that I used to carry around with me because I read it during every Lent. I read it, but I lost it. But luckily, my mother-in-law was nice enough to purchase this 1943 publication of Mere Christianity for me. But yeah, huge fan of C.S. Lewis in general. But I think that this is a book that, just going through and reading it every year, at least if you are, I don't know. I feel like C.S. Lewis is maybe one of the best apologists of the of recent history, and so I always go back to Mr. Clive Staple Lewis.
He's an apologist.
Well, not just that, but you know, he wrote Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is what most people know him for.
Yeah.
He wrote some science fiction, the Space Trilogy, really really good stuff. I actually have another C.S. Lewis book, which is my next one, but I'll let you go and.
I was going. What's he apologizing for?
I'm speaking, of course, here of apologetics. You know, the for those who might be wondering what that means, you know, for lack of better terms, a defense of the faith, I guess. You know, in Mere Christianity, he talks about, you know, going point by point, how he came to know that God was real. He's a very intellectual person, so how he came to know that God is real. First, how he knows there is a God, and then eventually goes on to how he knows that Christ is God incarnate and all that. But really, really good stuff to marinate on. There's also some really practical stuff in there. You know, one of my favorite portions in there is on Christian behavior, and he's talking about, you know, don't judge younger generations for what they wear, and it's got a good chunk of stuff there. He's talking about modesty and things like that, and how we should refrain from judging younger folks, which, as I'm getting older myself, I'm beginning to struggle with. So,
yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because today I'm wearing my Batman shirt.
There you go.
I see you're wearing your wrestling shirt.
Yeah, my wrestling pastor, my favorite Twitter page.
Yeah. Okay. My next book, and what do you think of this one, Aaron? Have you ever seen this?
Oh, I can't see it yet.
I know you can't. I know you can't. I did that on purpose. Imitation of Christ, Thomas à Kempis.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic book. In fact, it's so good. This is, I don't know what year I got this, but it was a while back. 1980 is the pressing of this one. But there are newer versions with newer translations. And so I actually have two different versions. And I highly recommend Imitation of Christ if you want to be challenged.
There you go.
All right, back to you, Aaron.
There you go. So my next one on the must-reads list is another C.S. Lewis. I doubled up on C.S. Lewis here. This one is not one of his like biographical or apologist works or anything like that. This one is actually one of his works of fiction. It's probably my favorite C.S. Lewis book, actually, even though I don't read it every year. But the Screwtape Letters. So very interesting book. The foreword phrases it as if these are some letters that C.S. Lewis found. You know, that's not the truth. It's fiction, but basically it is a senior demon writing letters to a newer demon, training him in how to tempt human beings. One of the most beautiful passages in this book that I think about quite a lot is, you know, they call God the enemy, and they say that the enemy, aka God, created everything for good. You know, food, work, play, everything in this world was created for good and created to be enjoyed by humanity, and for humanity to give thanks to God. But it's our job, you know, as demons, to twist those things. So everything's good, but when the forces of evil twist those things, that's when they become evil. And so I think about that quite a lot, and love the Screwtape Letters.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's another good one. My next one is the Confessions of Saint Augustine or Augustine. Very, very good book. In fact, one of my favorite lines of all time is in this book, where he's praying and he said, our hearts, we were made for thee, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee or in you. And I look out at all, you know, a whole bunch of people, and it seems like we're all restless. We're all looking for something, and we try to fill that restlessness with maybe wealth, or maybe acknowledgement or recognition, or maybe fame, or maybe power, or maybe well, sex, all sorts of things. But in the end, there's only one thing that will help our restless hearts to finally find peace, and that is Jesus. And it's a really good book as he goes back over his life and basically makes some confessions and gives some insight into how God works in our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That actually blends pretty well with some of my later ones, and a little bit even into my next one. My next one I read when I was in college, and it was powerful to me. It's a book by Donald Miller called Scary Close. You might know Donald Miller. He wrote some reflections on Christian life called Blue Like Jazz. He's a very unorthodox fellow. But this was one of his more serious books. I think it was the third book that he wrote. And he got married pretty late in life compared to most. He was in his mid 40s, I believe, when he got married. And he talked about, struggling with intimacy a lot in this book. And pretty much the premise of this book is that we all have something that we hide behind that keeps us from truly connecting with others. For him, it was always his humor. So all of his books, he always incorporated so much humor because that's what helped him connect with people. But he realized when you stop trying to impress people with a portion of yourself, that you can truly connect with them more. So the less you try to impress people, the more you connect with them. And I learned, through that process, that one of the things when I was in my younger and more vulnerable years is that I always considered myself to be, I've humbled myself since then, but I always considered myself to be pretty smart. And so when I was younger, I used to hide behind my intelligence a lot. Like I would try to make people think that I was even smarter than I actually was. And when you're hiding behind a facade like that, it stops you from truly being intimate with people and really connecting with people. And so very, very powerful book by Mr. Donald Miller.
That's a good point. I just to confess, in the scheme of things, I always hide behind my good looks. Why are you laughing? And I think we have time for maybe one more, so we can then look at the comments and kind of. So if you have any comments, you might want to start putting them in now, so we can take a look at those. Another N.T. Wright book, Simply Christian. This would be. Some people liken it to C.S. Lewis' Mere Christianity, and I don't know if you've ever heard that book before. But some people read that every year. But this is very, very contemporary. I think very readable, very accessible is what I would call it. And so, if you want to learn more about Christianity and why it makes sense, this would be a good book to spend some time with. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 others, but you know what? We have to cut it off somewhere. So Aaron, you get the last book.
Yeah, I got several others as well, but I'm going to share a most recent one that has really changed my thinking and I think might help a lot of people. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Oh my goodness. The name of the book comes from a quote by a guy named Dallas Willard, which is one of the greatest minds of discipleship in the past couple decades, I would say. And the words came to the author John Mark Comer through his mentor, who was mentored by Dallas Willard himself. And when his mentor, a guy named John Ortberg, was younger, he asked Dallas Willard what he should do to continue growing in his faith, because he had done all these things and he didn't know what to do anymore. And what Dallas Willard told him was to ruthlessly eliminate hurry from his life. And so John Ortberg wrote it down. He said, okay, well, what else? And Dallas Willard, I guess, just had a really long pause and just said, that's it. Just ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. And that's really an important message, I think, for a lot of us who are living in today's times, because there's so much that is making us faster, more, and all of this, and it's hurrying us to a point where we have a really hard time taking a step back and reflecting and praying and actually spending time with God. And that book has helped me change a lot of the way I think, and actually in the latter portions of it, he talks about the spiritual disciplines, and which I think are very, very, very important. And so highly recommend that book. I read it maybe 3-4 months ago, and I already know it's going to be one that I read multiple times throughout the rest of my life to recenter myself on stuff, because I definitely find myself one of those folks who's caught up in the hurry. So
yeah, it's easy. It's easy. And since you mentioned that, I'll take personal privilege and share one more, because I think it goes along with that because of spiritual disciplines. But I think it'd be helpful to folks. And I shared a little bit of it last week, the Divine Mentor. And I'm going to leave it on the screen for a little bit, because what it does is it teaches you how to use a practice that he terms SOAP. It's really a contemporary version of an ancient practice called Lectio Divina. And it's very easy, and it helps you to combine scripture and prayer. And I'll throw this out there. If anyone gets this and wants to work through it, let me know, and maybe we could get a SOAP group, online SOAP group, to kind of to work through and to spend some time in scripture and spend some time in prayer. So
now everybody's going to start getting soap ads on their Facebook.
Yeah, probably so. Why does Dawn keep putting things on here? I don't get it. So, well, shall we take a look at the comments?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, there's not much there other than Dana is reading Divine Revelation of Heaven and Hell by Mary K. Baxter, and I'm not familiar with that. I don't know if that's a fiction work or a nonfiction. As you can tell, I don't tend to read much fiction. Oh, are you looking it up, Aaron?
I am.
And if you're watching this later, if you're not actually watching the live stream, feel free to put some books that you have found helpful in the comments. I think, we're a community of faith, and one ways that we can help one another is by sharing things that we have found helpful. And, as much as we want to get back to normal, I think the normal is going to look different than what it has. And so why not spend some time reading? Use some of your cycles for reading. And Aaron is reading, so reading away.
I am. I'm reading the description of, in a divine revelation of heaven, after 30 nights in which God gave her visions of the depths of hell and the punishments of the lost, Mary K. Baxter was shown for 10 nights the glory of heaven, the home of redeemed souls. Included in this book are depictions of heaven's gates, angels, music, worship, storehouses of blessings, joyful heavenly citizens, 4 living creatures, and brilliant throne of God. So that is Mary K. Baxter.
It sounds interesting, Dana. And I, when I think about heaven, one of the things that keeps coming back is I don't know what it'll be like, but one thing I know that Jesus will be there. And I think with Jesus being in heaven, a lot of the stuff that right now I care about, according to heaven, might not make a difference because he's there, and that's all that will matter. So, well, Aaron, any parting thoughts?
Not off the top of my head. Like David said, just interested in hearing what everybody else has to say, because I like getting more book recommendations. So I see that Rhiannon asked if we could share our list in the comments, and I know I'll do that. I can't make promises for David, but yeah, I'll even mention some of the ones that we didn't get to talk about.
That's true. That's true. We could list the other ones too. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us. So thanks everyone for watching, and I hope and pray that you're having a great week. And some of you we will see Sunday outside at the church. Others we will see you live streaming. So we will still live stream. So don't feel forced or pressured to come on Sunday. We still got you covered. All right. See you, everyone.
Blessings, guys.